Me now is Derek Scissors, Asia economist at the American Enterprise Institute. I could literally spend 45 minutes on this, Derek, so I appreciate it. We'll try to keep it kind of top level. The tone shift with China vis-a-vis Mexico is very interesting. What do you make of it?
I think it's very, very risky. I understand why you look at Mexico with immigration problems, for one thing, and you say, hey, we have problems on the Mexican border. Trump has said he'd like to renegotiate parts of USMCA, which he signed. That's also legitimate. But Mexico is the biggest trade rival of China in the U.S. market. If you put tariffs on Mexico that are much heavier than the tariffs you're adding on China, you automatically get more Chinese goods here, more dependence of the U.S. on China. And I don't think the president understands that. So
let's say I were an American who was concerned our manufacturing sector has been hollowed out. I think China's been an unfair player. You know, we're over-consuming cheap Chinese goods and so forth. Do I look at all this and go, he's got a plan. I don't know what it is, but there's a plan. Or do I look at this and go, oh, suddenly Mexico's the biggest problem and he's, you know, inviting Xi Jinping to inauguration, right? Like, is this three-dimensional chess here?
It doesn't seem like it is. I hope it is. That would be great. But it doesn't seem like it is. When you throw Canada in there, for example, that doesn't make any sense at all. Canada is not a source of fentanyl. It is not a source of illegal migrants on any scale. This just looks like lashing out at a new target, as if he's tired of lashing out at China. But Mexico and Canada's trade deficits combined are $60 billion less than China's trade deficit alone. So it seems like the president has lost his trade deficit target. And the fentanyl case is even worse. If the Chinese think that, oh, if we send fentanyl to Mexico and Mexico sends it to the U.S., and the Americans punish Mexico more than us, and we gain from that, their incentives are to provide more fentanyl. So neither on the economic side nor the fentanyl side that the president has talked about is this a good idea.
Some comparisons have been drawn to the first administration, where he also had a big reception, went to Beijing, met with Xi Jinping, and so forth. And then things were kind of kumbaya for a little while and then went sour. I'm not sure exactly what was going on behind the scenes there, but could this be a similar pattern that is about to play out this time around?
It could be, but I was actually involved in the first round of Trump tariffs in 2017 and into a little bit of 2018. And a key difference then is that there was a strategy from the beginning that was in the campaign, it was in the transition. It had a leader who was Robert Lighthizer guiding that strategy through. We don't see any of that now. President Trump during the transition did not emphasize China. We don't have an experienced trade person at the helm. So if there's going to be a turn towards China, which is where trade attention belongs, it's going to take a long time. And I don't see the start of it yet. What we see instead is a focus on USMCA, which I said is an agreement that Trump signed.
So here's the thing I don't understand, though. One of the biggest headlines from his entire campaign was the 60% tariff on China. Literally, it's probably one of the most well-known data points. We've done reporting about how Chinese manufacturers are concerned it could actually happen, what people on Wall Street, even if it's not 60%. Why would he campaign on that? Have it be just some degree of why he got elected, and then suddenly go quiet on it?
That is a very good question. And of course, I don't know the president's mind. I do think that Republicans felt, not only I think, I know Republicans felt vulnerable on China issues because they had struggled to get things through the Congress, because President Trump did not retaliate against China in 2020 over their behavior with COVID. Whether you think that was a good idea or not, they felt vulnerable on China issues. And I think part of the campaign promises were to address that. I'm going to be tougher on China than Biden, than anyone else. But now we get, when push comes to shove, and suddenly he says things like, I'd rather not put tariffs on China.
So do you think some of his drive here is really more about NAFTA and readdressing some of those issues than it is about China in a bigger philosophical way?
Apparently it is. That doesn't make any sense to me. It made perfect sense to do what they did in the first term, which is update NAFTA. NAFTA was an old, aging agreement. They updated it on a bipartisan basis. President Trump liked it. He signed it. There's a review in 2026. If you want to bring the review forward and say, hey, we need to change autos around, fine. But that should be a sideshow because you already improved the situation. You didn't improve the China situation as represented by campaign promises to raise tariffs to 60%. and yet somehow he's gotten distracted. And I hesitate to say this, but a difference between this time and last time is Robert Lighthizer is out and Elon Musk is in.
And you think maybe this was an unexpected discussion for me, but the last couple of weeks have been sort of surprising. The markets noticed it. A lot of people in China, there's articles in the Wall Street Journal about this today. CNBC has a write-up as well. So I appreciate you diving in on the topic, and we'll revisit it. Derek, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Derek Scissors with AEI.